Hello, hello, hello. We're going on with our ANC victory and failure series. This is one of the victories that I'm covering. Education reforms. Look. I have to do both victories and failures because there's no such thing as a truly binary world, and things have to be seen in a holistic fashion. So, like, look, to demonstrate my point, there's going to be people who will, massive ANC supporters will be like, oh, how dare you say anything about the ANC's failures? And then there'll be some right-wing guys who'll be like, oh, how dare you say the ANC succeeded at anything? Look, the truth exists on a spectrum, and multiple things can be true at the same time. This is not look. I'm not talking about some crazy truther, do your own research, nonsense. I'm talking about things that can be verified with facts, like recorded. For example, the series is mostly recorded history, so it's like even easier to prove than, let's say, scientific, some things in science where you may have, like, let's say, a test, like people researching tomatoes. Okay, silly example, but like that changes, all the time. Like with history, it can be revised, of course, nothing is like stationary, but or written in a stone tablet, but history changes less often, and it takes a long while before a revision is made. These things that I'm giving you now are, it's basically fact. I'm a fact guy. I'm a numbers guy. I'm not perfect, like I may be biased. We're all biased, but like I try to, stay out of echo chambers and these kinds of things. So many people are stuck in echo chambers and have no idea that they are stuck in echo chambers. And you can tell them, like, even if you do so with empathy. And I suggest, if you're one of the people who are trying to help someone else out of an echo chamber, you do so with understanding and empathy. Listen to what they have to tell you before you start telling them your story. Luckily, when one looks at objective facts, you're on the winning side. People who are into facts, you're on the winning side, no matter what anyone will say, because your stuff can be proven. It's not like throw the witch on the water, and if she floats, she's a witch, and if she's innocent, she will go under. These things can be tested. It can be seen easily. In any case, sorry, this is just a tangent. I'm very passionate about, especially in this day and age, I'm very passionate about facts and, these kinds of things, like correct information, because there's so many people and organizations that are twisting facts. It can be MSNBC, it can be RT News, it can be Fox, it can be, amplified X accounts. And I'm not scared of saying this, because I will be able to prove I'm right, even in a court of law, simply by measuring what was said in these posts or in these forums, measuring that with what actually happened. Let's look at the educational reforms that the ANC has done or did. Education has always been a central focus for the African National Congress, as it is aimed to uplift South Africans and address the socio-economic inequalities left by apartheid. Under apartheid, educational resources were disproportionately allocated, with black South African children attending poorly funded schools that lacked basic facilities, qualified teachers, and adequate materials. Recognizing that education was essential for empowering individuals and building a prosperous society, the ANC initiated reforms aimed at making quality education accessible to all South Africans. One of the first steps that the ANC-led government was to implement free primary education, to ensure that financial barriers would not prevent children from attending school. By removing school fees at the primary level, the ANC significantly increased historically limited access to education. Free primary education allowed millions of South African children to receive basic education, helping to improve literacy rates and provide a foundation for future learning. Before I go on, it's necessary to say that during the apartheid government, they implemented something called Bantu education. Bantu is the word for it's a linguistical grouping of languages spoken in Southern Africa. How many are in Southern Africa versus South Africa? I think we've got 4 Bantu languages in South Africa. That's like the family is like isiXhosa, Zulu, Swazi, Ndebele. Yeah, there's at least 4. Like, in any case, like all black people were referred to as Bantus. Now it's like kind of derogatory. Like, I'm not sure actually what's the correct word to talk about this. I know you can use Bantu when you talk about language because it's just the name of the group. It will be in a dictionary. But like in this case, when they refer to Bantu education, it was just like, you know, in a kind of a derogatory way, you know, like they could have just said, you know, South African black education or, you know, something like that, or South African black education. They didn't, they just referred to it as Bantu education. And this was designed on purpose to keep Africans in a role of subjugation, to enable or to disable people from rising into higher states of like the economy or higher states of being, like let's say being a lawyer, being a doctor, being an engineer, an architect, someone in administration, you know, like an accountant. All of these things were almost out of reach. Like you could only do basic things like if you're a person, yeah, this is actually how hectic it is. Like if you were a victim of Bantu education and you may then be like, let's say now 80 years old, there is a possibility that you actually may be illiterate. And because like the reason I say this right now is I would actually like to invite people who had Bantu education, who was educated under that system. If I guess they're very old, I don't know if this demographic watches YouTube, but like to comment, to give us like your experience, and tell us what it was like and how it affected your life. The irony is like someone like that may be illiterate and actually not be able to make this comment. However, please make a YouTube video, make your own YouTube video, let your grandchildren assist you, or your children, and make your video and link it to this video so we can have like some real people talking about like, you know, Bantu education, the black people who received this. So Bantu education on purpose pushed black people into fields like mining, farming. Mining and farming would be the big one. just like being domestic workers. If you went into manufacturing, which is also, I mean, like the income, like like entry level manufacturing, you know, if you've got the lowest like form of education in a factory, and I'm not saying anything bad against artisans, I think it's very necessary and important job. And you can make a lot of money if you know what you're doing, because working with one's hands like is a gift from God almost. Like I'm so useless. I'll just admit it on camera. It's like I'm so useless at doing anything with my hands. I can cook well, but like when it comes to like home improvement, like, oh my word, like I once tried to install a television, like a flat screen on a wall, and I destroyed like 1,500 rand drill because I didn't like, you know, put the thing on hammer action, which I was supposed to do, and I used the wrong drill bit. Like I had a friend, like electrician friend, who came to my house, and he was just like, what the fuck, dude, what have you done? Like, yeah, that's me, you know, like I just can't do anything right. Getting back to where we were, if you were black and you actually got into an artisanal job, that was considered, like, let's say in the 60s and the 70s, to be a very high position, because this is like the maximum thing that Bantu education would allow you to do. There would be exceptions, like, let's say, Nelson Mandela, people like that, who went into medicine and law, but these people were very lucky in the same, this was not government initiated. This was like, let's say you're like a missionary school or something, like the Catholics. They would like take some children who would finish school, and they would then basically assist them to getting scholarships for universities. There was one black university, I believe it was called Fort Hare, like, and that served one purpose and one purpose only. Remember, segregation meant, you know, literally, like everyone is separate. Unless, of course, like, you know, there's a mine and we need black labor to get the gold out of the mine, then there's some mixing allowed. But like, you had the University of Fort Hare served the purpose of providing black professionals for these so-called Bantustans, the black homelands, to work there. You know, like white people were not allowed to go. Well, you were allowed to go in, I guess, but like it was discouraged. Like, and if you were black, it was very difficult to leave these Bantustans. You had to have a special permit, and if you do the smallest thing wrong, smallest microaggression, just like having one beer too many in your court, then they revoke your license. In any case, it's a very small percentage of the population. So when the ANC finally like attained power, they started changing these things, and like now we mentioned, we started with free primary and secondary education. However, some people who benefited also from this was adults, because the adults were illiterate, and it was like a literacy drive. Like, you know, it was like one of like when one of like, let's say you have a literacy drive in some like third world country. It was literally like that, you know, like a literacy drive. And for a very long time in South Africa, you would have like now and then on the television, or actually quite often, like you would have an adult, a 70-year-old woman, for example, who would pass her matric. Matric is your final year in South African school, when like that's when you're like 17 years old or something, 17, 18, and that's your last school year. And you will have like black men, black women in their 70s completing this. You know, and they're crying. It was like so emotional to watch because they're crying, like they're able to do this thing that have been denied to them their entire lives. And to read, geez, like we assume, we just assume things so often, like we take electricity for granted, we take internet for granted, never mind reading, and Bantu education was designed to keep people illiterate, because illiterate people can't read newspapers. Illiterate people can't write messages. Like, there's a very good reason for that. And you cannot take this away from the ANC. This is just factual. That the fact that they opened schools where, I mean, in any country in the world, education, like tertiary, not always, but primary and secondary is seen, it's not even seen as a right, it's seen as an obligation. And we didn't have that in South Africa. White people had it, and to an extent Indian and mixed ethnicity people, but black people didn't, like African black people didn't have it. So, the ANC came in and they started introducing this. To further support children from low-income families, the ANC introduced the National School Nutrition Program, NSNP, which provided nutritious meals to students in need. The NSNP aims to address malnutrition, which affects students' ability to concentrate and learn, particularly in poorer areas where food insecurity is prevalent. By providing daily meals, the NSNP has improved attendance rates and learning outcomes, contributing to a healthier and more productive school environment. The program exemplifies the ANC's holistic approach to education, recognizing that children need both intellectual and physical nourishment to thrive. Yeah, like you had students, I guess it still exists here and there. I know for a fact that one in five South Africans go to bed hungry every night. Now, in 2024. But it was even worse for the children, where many of them would actually just go to school. Like, their families would have preferred them to stay home and work and make some money, but they were so poor that the kids would actually go to school to eat, like because of these nutrition programs. So the nutrition programs had the benefit of not only, keeping the population from becoming malnourished, but by providing them, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 meals. If you're like a health expert, please tell us. But and I know the nutrition wasn't great. It's not like you got, mutton and oranges and broccoli. It was basic, probably most of it was like basic staple food, like, maize meal or something like that. But it's still, look, that's better than nothing. It's better than, having a rumbling stomach. And this helped people quite a bit. And this was not the case, for example, in white schools. When I was in primary school, we had a feeding program. Because I came from I come from a poor, industrial area where, it was also a historical, poor area, but you had not a lot. I have to emphasize this. Maybe how many people were in my school? I don't know, 800. Maybe 10 of them needed food aid, and they got it. They got to make them not lose face. The food aid was obviously the food was available to everyone. This was no problem to get it when you were white. When you were black, it was kind of an issue. And malnutrition in South Africa, it's never gone away. As I just said, it's still very much present. However, like, it is less bad than it used to be. And those of you, like, if you're a doctor, please tell us how please tell us how malnutrition affects the body if you go below a certain amount of calories. Like, you will have, like, smaller muscles, weaker bones, like, it will affect your brain. You'll have a lower IQ. There's like so many ways it will compromise your immune system. There's so many ways malnutrition can affect you. It's not just like scurvy, when people think about malnutrition, they often just think about scurvy. It's not just that. It's like parts of your body goes into shutdown mode. The ANC also focused on curriculum reform to create a more inclusive and relevant educational system. In the early years of democracy, the outcome-based education (OBE) model was introduced as an attempt to move away from the role learning and promote critical thinking, problem solving, and practical skills. Although OBE faces challenges in implementation and was eventually replaced by Curriculum and Assessment Policy Statement, or CAPS, in 2012, it replaced the ANC's commitment to modernizing the education system. CAPS aimed to address some of the challenges of OBE by providing clearer guidelines for teachers and focusing on core subjects, including literacy, numeracy, and life skills. So, this has to be, the problem with this outcomes-based education was that it, instead of like rote, which I don't think rote is a good system, but like the problem with this outcome-based education was that the idea is very good. The idea is perfect, but the implementation was poor. And we're still suffering from that. Like 30% or 40% of South Africa, you need 30% to pass science and physics in South Africa at school. So, I mean, you don't really learn anything. And when we talk about, like, look, it seems like if you look at it at this on face value, like, like critical thinking and problem solving and practical skills, like some of you, like, to mind will pop like, a STEM or art or whatever. No, of course not. Like, there was no money for this. And at that time, like, people didn't know as much about how to best implement this education with limited means. So this was a disaster. And we're still like reeling from this, and even the replacement, the CAPS, is kind of dodgy. Like, why would I include this in Victories? Well, it's the thought that counts, okay? And I know how this sounds, but look, when your grandmother gives you a super ugly knitted brown jersey with a yellow bear on top for Christmas, it's not about the horrible gift. It's the thought that counts. The ugly jersey came from a place of love, and that should not be forgotten. And that's like the only reason I'm including like the OBE, the outcomes-based education, in this part, because very few people want to create a system that will be a total disaster, like, because it will like affect your name, like it will be like attached to your name. Although, yeah, some of the education ministers we have had were super dodgy, and in future I will address this. Like, I think South Africa's education is horrific. The ANC's commitment to addressing historical disparities was evident in its efforts to improve educational infrastructure, particularly in rural and previously disadvantaged communities. Under the Accelerated Schools Infrastructure Delivery Initiative, ACIDI, the ANC-led government worked to replace unsafe and inadequate school structures, including mud schools with proper buildings equipped with classrooms, sanitation facilities, and electricity. ACIDI also focused on providing access to clean water, libraries, and science laboratories, ensuring that the students in under-resourced areas had the necessary facilities for a quality education. By investing in educational infrastructure, the ANC demonstrated its commitment to closing the gap between urban and rural schools. So unfortunately with these schools, many of them were built by dodgy contractors. So the buildings and also there were no security guarding them in many cases. So they were damaged, vandalized, collapsed, whatever, damaged by storms, weather conditions. However, one of the most important goals for any country on earth is rural development. Because cities are too big and they can become unruly. I don't want to sound like Ted Kaczynski, but a city is kind of unnatural. People didn't really live in cities. To live in a rural area is better, but the rural area needs to be developed. You need roads, you need schools, you need electricity, you need internet, you need clean water. So you need bridges to cross valleys. So this is kind of an attempt to do that. So they need kudos for that. In addition to improving school infrastructure, the ANC made efforts to address the shortage of qualified teachers, especially in rural and disadvantaged areas. The government introduced the Funza Lushaka bursary program, which provided financial assistance to students pursuing teaching degrees in subjects where there is a critical need, such as mathematics, science, and technology. In return, these graduates are required to teach in public schools for a specific period. The Funza Lushaka program has helped to increase the number of qualified teachers in high-need areas, improving the quality of education and addressing skill shortages in key subjects. Yeah, that's my idea for, education, is it should be free, but you should work for the state, or you can work for a private company, but you have to let's say you have to work a couple of years for the state so you can pay back that education. And if you work for a private company, because let's say the structure of the economy is of such a need that your skill is better served in the private sector, then let's say some of your salary, 50%, should go back into the education system. That's just fair, unless you pay your own way. But, education, should be for free. However, and this is where some people would want to throw me under the bus, but look, we're not all intelligent, maybe people like me, but a university education isn't meant for everyone. Possibly it's not even meant for the majority. Some people just don't have the cognitive skills or the aptitude or the drive to do well at university, thus acquiring the qualification. And people are horrified when people mention this, but the fact of the matter is governments, institutions, NGOs, they don't want to focus on aptitude, which is the real thing that should determine where development should be applied and done. Aptitude will get the best out of someone because you make them the most effective at what they are. That's basic economics. And you can. You can take someone with an IQ of 90 and push them through, engineering school, like a 4-year bachelor, or like to attempt a 4-year bachelor's, but probably they're going to do it in 10 years. And even when they're finished, they're not going to be very good engineers. It's just a fact. So, free education, yes, but your aptitude should be measured or taken, and it should be taken at maybe like 3 different stages, like once when you're 10, once when you're 16, and once when you're 18. Make sure, like what the aptitude is, because remember, people can also lie on aptitude tests. You don't want that. So and you need IQ tests as well. There just isn't enough money for, maybe if you're like, I don't know, some crazy rich country like Saudi Arabia can do whatever they want. They can have give the police Lamborghinis, and I guess they can do educationally whatever they want to. It still won't be efficient. If you're not a smart person, you're not going to be a good lawyer. It's a fact. But free education is very important. Like any decent developed society, or a society that's developing who wants to be a fully developed society, should go for something like that. Recognizing that education extends beyond basic schooling, the ANC has also worked to make higher education more accessible. For many South Africans, the cost of tertiary education was prohibitively high, preventing talented students from disadvantaged backgrounds from pursuing higher studies. To address this, the ANC introduced the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS, which provided financial aid to low-income students who qualified for university or technical and vocational education and training, or TVET programs, TVET. NSFAS has enabled thousands of students from low-income families to attend university, promoting social mobility and creating opportunities for future economic empowerment. So, yeah, this NSFAS helped quite a lot. I know people who got educated via NSFAS, and yeah, it actually managed to break the cycle of poverty. This is what you want in a country like South Africa or Brazil or India, is you want to break cyclical poverty, and one way to do that is by education, or upskilling, upgrading a person's ability to contribute to the economy. However, this NSFAS didn't go far enough. Also, unfortunately, it was abused. There was one story of a girl who, I don't know, how much did she take? It was quite a bit. I don't know how much money she stole, but some incompetent official in the NSFAS paid her, I don't know, R1 million or 100,000 rand, quite a bit, a lot of money that was that she didn't need. And then when she saw this reflected in her account, she just started spending it without informing them they made a mistake. Okay, well, I guess the only the only graceful thing you can say about her is freaking she's 20. If you're 20, you do a lot of stupid shit. However, this shit was on a different level. Yeah, she bought handbags, took her friends out for these luxury meals. It was quite funny, I guess not funny, her grandmother complained in the newspaper that the granddaughter didn't buy her a house with the money that was, paid into the account, which I thought was yeah. Maybe the grandmother's the reason the daughter had that mentality, but yeah, NSFAS, there was a lot of problems. There still is, the problem with South Africa in general is we don't have the meritocracy you have in China, for example. China has worked on a meritocratic system for thousands of years. That's why China is China. And you find similar things in like Japan and Vietnam as well. You know, it's a system of meritocracy, like Germany too. That's why they are like they are. And unfortunately, you know, in South Africa, this is a big failure of society, and maybe the ANC in particular, is that we don't have meritocratic people in government. The ANC's commitment to expanding higher education access was further evident in its response to the Fees Must Fall movement, one word, in a student-led protest that began in 2015 and demanded free higher education. In response to the movement, the ANC announced a series of funding reforms, including increasing NSFAS allocations and tuition subsidies for students from low to middle income families. Although challenges remain, these reforms reflected the ANC's ongoing dedication to making higher education attainable for a broader segment of the population, recognizing the critical role it plays in personal development and national progress. So, a quick note on this Fees Must Fall protest is this was the first time the ANC was blindsided. Because the NSFAS and the TFAT thing was working all the time, up until you had the so-called born-free, like the born-free generation, which is anyone born after 1994 in South Africa. And these people basically demanded, well, righteously so, I guess, they demanded free education, hence the name Fees Must Fall. It was like, it went viral, hence the hashtag, you know, because it was a Twitter thing, and it went onto Twitter, and that's how the protesters, the leaders, organized. And it was just like, yeah, I'm almost tempted to say it spread like a virus, but then, you know, I'm going to be super attacked and cancelled by some Fees Must Fall activists. Look, free education for me, as I've said it multiple times, I'll always say it, it's a very good thing. But like, they started demanding some other weird stuff, like decolonized education. Also fine, you know, if you want to go and rewrite the history book because the book is racist, sure, what's the problem? But then some other people wanted, you know, like, you'll always find extremists, no matter what political leaning or affiliation or religion or whatever the ideology, you'll find extremists, and they will push it to the next level of stupidity. Like, for example, during COVID, some Chinese officials, they sprayed the tarmacs of the airports with like chlorine water, which is obviously not effective way to stop the virus, just to basically please their bosses, to make it appear to their bosses that they're doing something. That's extremism. In this case, there was this, it went viral. You can find it on YouTube. This one student said like, physics need to be like, you know, physics must fall or something like that. And she said something about, she said like, yeah, myths are discounted and science is racist, you know, something like that. And which is not true, like, because I did engineering and I had physics. I only did like first and second year physics. I can't speak for the entire program, but like, you know, engineering isn't about sociology or history. It's freaking about building things. Like, how do you connect? How do you like make a generator? How do you like create AI? You know, these things. How do you protect a network from hacking? You know, it's got nothing to do with, you know, history and politics and race, but she pushed it. And then video went viral, and this was kind of like the end of the movement, and also there was like some vandalism. There was like, I will make a video about this, but in any case, a lot of like, oh yeah, in the end, the movement just became racist. In the beginning, it was a very good movement, a very good, very good movement. Like, it was all inclusive. You had seen there were protests with all of the races present, white, black, Indian, whatever, and it was about money, and that's the main thing. It's about money, like at least enable someone to get education, and this is like where the ANC got blindsided. Is they didn't expect the sudden popular groundswell movement demanding free education, like totally free education, not the NSFAS model. And then, well, because of budgetary constraints, there's still no absolutely free education in South Africa. They just upgraded NSFAS. The ANC has also promoted the development of technical and vocational education and training, TVET, colleges as an alternative path for young people interested in acquiring practical skills. By expanding TVET programs and improving their quality, the ANC aims to address the skills gap in South Africa's workforce and provide young people with opportunities in fields like engineering, healthcare, and informational technology. TVET programs are designed to equip students with job-ready skills, increasing their employability and supporting South Africa's economic growth. This emphasis on vocational training underscores the ANC's understanding of diverse educational needs and its commitment to fostering a skilled and adaptable workforce. The TVET, once again, you can say, it comes from a place of love and so on, but there were many problems with the colleges, that people would exit and they would still be useless because the aptitude of this person was never tested. You can't train an artist in engineering, and you can't take someone who's interested in engineering and train them to be an artist or, a social worker. It's not going to work. And you have now youth unemployment in South Africa. Now, this video is made November 2024. I don't even know what youth unemployment is. It's 50% or something. It's insane. It's the next level. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that young people have skills that cannot be applied in the economy. So for me, and this goes for all education. This includes all the schools, primary, tertiary, and universities, and these TVET colleges. They don't teach you how to be an entrepreneur. Okay, and when you think about entrepreneur, you think about this person like a startup venture guy or, Elon Musk or whatever. No, just like the ability to monetize your knowledge. Even if you're baking bread, you're baking 10 breads a day, selling it to your neighbors, that's entrepreneurship. You're doing something, you're monetizing your skill. If you're a good baker, get people who can make bread. I can make bread, actually. I can make a delicious bread. Maybe I should do a video about it. But then you get people who can't make bread at all. And, they don't teach you how to, let's say, how to read a financial statement, how to create a business plan, and it's not just about teaching someone how to do project management or create a business plan. It's actually implementing it. You should, at school and at these colleges and at university. At my university, they did it for it was a 6-month thing, but it shouldn't be a 6-month thing. It should be a 2-year thing where you go and work in a company, or you start a business. Even if the business isn't very successful, then let's say part of your project becomes, feedback. Like, okay, why is this thing of mine not working? This app that I created, why is no one buying it? Like, why is no one looking at this YouTube channel? But like, you have to, like, get feedback from people, and like, for some reason, this has never really occurred to the educational department in South Africa. Is doing something, practical, so, help people to help themselves, because the government's clearly unable to do it. Like, and this is like a big criticism of the system, which is unfortunate because I'm doing the Victories video. But still, look, the vocational training program, it is better than nothing. It is better than nothing, because someone who's hungry, someone, who needs to feed a child, even if they're doing something that's not their their, aptitude, if they're making money, it's okay. It's okay. Another critical component of the ANC's education reforms has been the promotion of inclusive education for learners with disabilities. The government has introduced policies aimed at creating accessible learning environments, providing specialized support, and ensuring that schools are equipped to meet the needs of students with disabilities. These efforts reflect the ANC's commitment to building an education system that respects diversity and upholds the right of every child to receive an education, regardless of their abilities or circumstances. So yeah, like, this is why despite all its problems, I view South Africa as a modern country. Like, for me, I expect a school to have wheelchair ramps. I expect, for visually and audible or audio impaired people to have amenities, to have infrastructure for them to operate normally. I expect that. It's not something that I view as a luxury at all. I expect that, and I expect that it's the primary responsibility should lie of the state to do this. And yeah, the ANC has done this. The ANC has also made strides in improving early childhood development, ECD, recognizing that the foundation for learning begins more before formal schooling. The government introduced policies to expand access to ECD programs, which focuses on the cognitive, emotional, and social development of children from birth to age 6. By investing in ECD, the ANC aims to give young children the best possible start in life, ensuring that they are better prepared for primary education and reducing the risk of future academic challenges. Expanding ECD access reflects the ANC's long-term vision for educational reform, which begins with early intervention and support. With regards to ECD, I don't actually know anything about it, to be honest. I heard about it once, and I have no idea whether it's a success or not. It's good to know that they're thinking about it, as these are absolutely crucial years, and if there is something like, let's say, universal kindergarten, which I believe there isn't, because I know the nature of the South African government, but a universal kindergarten would be great in the sense that it frees up your population to work. So, because look, not every grandmother and grandfather can physically take care of children, grandkids, and even if they can, they may be illiterate, or a grandmother may try to teach a child only to paint pictures, or grandfather may just teach him to do something that's irrelevant to his future, because they're not parents. And I'm not criticizing grandparents. You get fantastic grandparents, maybe J.D. Vance's grandmother. He's vice president now, after all. You get fantastic grandparents. I'm just saying it's not their job. They shouldn't have to worry about it. Like, it's society's job, it's greater society's job to provide this, because, like, it's just the economy will benefit. You know, like, and I know that a lot of attention obviously has to be spent on programs such as these, because these children are incredibly vulnerable. But, like, you need to you need to develop these kids. Early childhood development is extremely important, because there is this graph, right? Like, your ability to learn, and it goes down exponentially. At the time of birth, it's super high. You learn like this, and then it just like it tapers down. Look, you can still learn at the age of 70. It's going to take so long to learn something. I'm trying to learn now, but it's difficult, like, because I'm 44. My brain's just not working as well anymore. Like, that's why if you're like, hopefully, well, like, my channel's not meant for children, because I may curse here and there, talk about controversial things. If you're 18, like, yeah, like, please pay attention. Your brain's working well. Your brain capacity or functionality peaks at 25, and then it's downhill. So just like, bear in mind, if you want to get a PhD or something, get it ASAP. Don't think it's going to be easy when you're 40. Like, do your bachelor's, do your master's or honors as soon as possible. Get it out of the way. Do the PhD while you can, while your brain is in the primal, like, stage. If you're not interested in a PhD, no props. Like, attain a skill. Learn Spanish. Learn Mandarin Chinese. Learn, I don't know, like, Hopi Indian language, or whatever you want to. Native American, please don't cancel me. Native American language. Like, very few skills are bad skills, but do learn something. And learning, like, a language, for example, is very challenging. If you don't want to do that, that's cool. Learn a programming language, but do something while you're young, while your brain is like, primed. And yeah, especially like, people get, as we say in my native language, mark of break, which means make or break. Like, it's crucial, like, for kindergarten kids to have, like, proper toys, like, learn proper language, like problem solving skills, creative thinking, because it's just the easiest, the best time to learn. Like, and yeah, that is, let's just see if I missed something. Yes, so the ANC is, like, dedicated to education. It has always been. It treasured education. And yeah, many fuck ups along the way, there still are. But it comes from like good intentions. I know there are, like, some people, there's, like, theories, and I actually want to investigate this, but right now I don't know, so I'm not going to say this definitively if it's true. There are conspiracy theories that the government's, like, on purpose trying to keep the population uneducated, keeping them dumb, so that they won't vote against the government. But it seems a bit far-fetched. Once again, if you want to do look, I have no problem believing in a conspiracy that's made between, like, 5 people or 3 people. A conspiracy made by 10,000 people, that's a lot of people to keep a secret. keeping a secret between 10 women is hard enough. You know, like those 10 women need to be incredibly dedicated friends and loyal towards one another to keep the secret. Like, but, you know, for the government to like plot to keep the population stupid, it seems really far-fetched. Why has there been no whistleblower about this? Can you imagine? Because this would be a super ethical thing, you know, like anyone in their right mind with the slightest shred of morality would like blow the whistle on this, you know, like there won't be so many people, thousands of people in conspiracy to like, you know, to screw over the population. I don't believe it. So in conclusion, ANC did their best with what they had, you know, made mistakes like any, you know, government will make. And next up, we will look at infrastructure development. Any good country needs infrastructure. And that's all for now. Thank you. Have a nice day.